Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, a lot of my videos recently have been about home energy tariffs and other things, but I'm quite a long time on the ownership on this, and it's a while since I did a kind of update on the etron itself. So here I am, kind of just over 2 years into my 3-year lease. I've done 34,000 miles in this car, and I just give you a little update for some of the things that I really love about this car. Now, first on that list has got to be the comfort and refinement. You know, I've been in a lot of cars. My dad's had some nice premium cars, you know, Range Rovers and stuff. This thing is fantastic on comfort. This is incredibly quiet, incredibly refined. Open road motorway cruiser, this thing is absolutely superb. When you look at some of the other reviewers out there, it's a common theme. People that test the e-tron tell you how smooth and refined it is. As a cruiser out on the open road, this thing is terrific. So if you're looking for something to do a few miles in and you want to arrive still feeling fresh, without being in a noisy car, you want a nice quiet comfy ride, it's really hard to beat the Audi e-tron. Right, now let me show you some other stuff that I really love about this car. So this is the nav system, and it is absolutely terrific. I'm just going to show you how it works really quickly. It's nice and smooth. Let's go up to a recent trip I was doing, and it just comes through. You've got a kind of blue range ring there. That's an option. You can pop that on. It's flagged up for toll road because it's within London congestion zone on that destination, and it tells me, you know, an arrival time. It's adjusted the predicted range because it knows that it's mainly up the motorway. It knows the weather conditions. It knows whether it's uphill or downhill. So that predicted range that I get is pretty good. So here it shows me that at the end of that journey, I'll be down at 16%. Now, here's another little trick on it. What I can also do is search for another destination. And I will bring up going from where I was to another one, and I'm going to pop that in, but I'm going to set that as where I'm going first. So I can put that as a stopover, and then it's going to build up the route of going up to the first place and then on to London. Now, it's immediately come up with a little flag down there that says it's going to be quite low on battery when I get there. Give it a couple of seconds and it's going to throw in the route planning. I'm hoping. I can always force that in manually. There it is, the route planning's popped up. So it wants to look for some charging, and it will set the battery up to 100%. At the moment it's down to about 75. So if I ask it to do that, it's immediately going to choose somewhere, and it's picked a 250 kilowatt BP charger that's on the way. And it says to do this journey, I only need to plug in for 6 minutes, and I will get to my destination with a bit more battery. So, you know, this thing works really well. I know the Tesla's, their route planning stuff is terrific, but this Audi is also absolutely brilliant, and it will take me to the Audi charging services stuff as a priority. It shows those nice and clearly. It takes me to other stuff. I can always use my Apple CarPlay and other apps like Octopus Electroverse. It just, you know, you never get low on battery on a journey because it's always going to look after you. It's always going to guide you towards a charger if you need one. And of course, as part of that nav, you've got the Audi virtual cockpit. So the main screens there, you've got various different views on them. You can flick around with all sorts of other kind of actions on it, and you can bring up the display. You can even put satellite maps on there instead of normal maps, and all the maps update online over the air. This car doesn't do over the air software updates, but it does update the map all the time, and it's a really good system, and it's quite easy to use. Now, another thing I really like is the climate control. You can see that on the bottom there, I've got a couple of hard buttons for my defrost and demist settings, my heated rear wiper. But if I just put the air conditioning on, that green light makes it in eco mode, and it doesn't seem to affect the range very much, but it does give the air conditioning, and it's nice and straightforward to use. It's really simple, and you can swipe up and down, you can tap up and down, you can synchronize, you can do the rear heating separately, because I've got the 4-zone heating option, which is part of the Tech Pro pack, and the heated seats. You know, that's all straightforward. You don't have to go through menus or anything. It's just there. It just works. So like the steering wheel buttons, these are proper clicky little buttons. These, you know, they actually have a nice feel on it. The touchscreens are actually haptic. They give you a bit of feedback too, but it's real buttons on the steering wheel. I didn't think that was a big deal. They were on my last car. But then I rented a VW Golf, the new Mark 7, I think it is, Golf, which had the haptic controls. It's all kind of touch sensitive. That was an absolute pain in the butt. Every time you steered, you brush against it, the radio channel would change. It kept changing things on the sat nav. It really wasn't very nice at all. Proper buttons, they just work. And, you know, you've got a nice combination there. Down here, I've got the cruise control. It's not adaptive cruise control on the Audis unless you've got the Tour pack, which comes included on the Vorsprung model. But I've got used to the stalk over the buttons, and it's something that works really well. Now, something else on the car, and it's fitted, I think, as standard to all cars now, it's required by legislation, is a lane keeping assist function. So that's going to be something that uses cameras to keep you in the middle of your lane. And that's a great feature on the motorways and dual carriageways. It stops you drifting out of your lane at all. But on a country road, this thing's like wrestling a gorilla with the steering. It is a bit of a faff. But once again, you don't have to go into a load of sub-menus, because this little button here on the end of the stalk, you just press that once and the lane keep assist goes off, and you can flick it back on when you get to dual carriageway. So no going into menus, just nice and simple. Great feature. The boot, it's really big, and I've actually got the 20/40 split rear seat, which means I can get skis into the car. Now that matters to me more than it would matter to most people, because I can get both kids and all the ski gear in the car, and then I don't have the noise of a roof rack or a roof box on, and it saves me paying extra on the ferry for having a roof load on as well. So that's really good. Below the floor there, I have got under the rubber mat, I can lift up, and I've got some additional storage down there. So, you know, it's a big boot, and there are very few EVs with a bigger boot. The Tesla Y, different shape boot, but slightly bigger on the literage. An awful lot of cars are kind of 500 litres at the biggest. Skoda Enyaq's big, but, you know, it's hard to beat an Audi e-tron for boot space. Most of them have nets and cargo wells down here, but I should have ticked the storage pack as an option when I ordered this to get those. And unlike some of the cars that are out there, partly because it's got such a long bonnet, because this thing's it's based on the Audi MLB Evo platform, so it shares a lot of technology with cars like the Audi Q7, the Porsche Cayenne and the Lamborghini Urus, but it does have a frunk. Underneath a false floor is a load of tools, but I got quite a lot of space in there. One of my videos I showed you can almost get 3 wine cases in there. It's a really handy place for popping in cables and snow chains and other things like that if you're on a trip. I've got a kind of base model. This is the Technic. The base model now is the Sport on the Q8. All Q8s come with matrix headlights as standard. They were standard on some of the higher spec cars. I'm not sure if it was the S-Line or the black to get them, and of course they're on all launch cars and Vorsprung model cars. I've added them by subscription, and these matrix headlights are absolutely terrific. You really have to see them in action. In fact, I'm going to try and make another video about them and try and show you them in use. But the matrix headlights on this car are superb. Back seat space. Now my seat is in that easy access thing. It's come back, and I'm nearly 6'3", and I have got loads of legroom here. It's not so good in the centre because you do have a bit of limited space there. The kids do get a touchscreen for their heating controls with the 4-zone heating. The new cars will come with USB on them. Some of the higher spec ones come with USB in the back as well. That really should be standard. I'll go to do a gripes video about the things that Audi don't fit that I think they should do. But this is really comfy in the back. Now, I said I've been in a couple of other cars. I've been in a Tesla Y very recently. I was in the back of that. That was an Uber car in Florida. The seat cushion that I sat on, you know, it's a perfectly comfy seat, but it's a really short under my thighs. Legroom was massive, but in terms of the actual comfort, this Audi is so much better than a Model Y for comfort, just because of the you know, the cushion that I'm sat on and the length of it under my thighs. It's just nicer. I was pleasantly surprised about the comfort and ride quality in the Model Y. I've heard so many bad stories, but I've got to say it was pretty decent. Okay, charging ports. On the Audi, unusually, you get two. You get one each side, and instead of having some nasty little flap, these are motorized, which is quite a nice touch. And you've got this indicator light with the decode on it, so you know when it's charging just by looking at the charging port, which is a really helpful feature. This is the AC only side, and on the driver's side you've got the CCS connector. So showing you the AC charging port, I mentioned the CCS port. One thing that really matters is charging curve. I'll pop a link in the description to a Fastned graph that shows you the charging curve. This battery pack has quite a high cobalt content in it. I know that gets mined in the Congo by the sore hands of small children. So a lot of manufacturers are moving away from high levels of cobalt in batteries. But one of the things that does do is it allows you to sustain a high charging speed. Combine that with what the Audi engineers have done with the battery thermal management, the ability to heat and cool the battery. So this battery, you know, it charges fast. It will charge at its peak rate of 150 kilowatts all the way to 80%. And if you leave it plugged in towards 100, it tapers down to 100 kilowatts, and then finally down to 50 kilowatts. So this thing charges like an absolute boss, as Bjorn Nyland would say. This, you know, it makes a difference when you're on the road. It doesn't have the longest range. Your time between stops may be shorter than in other vehicles, but you can charge up and use the full battery between stops. Mate of mine's got a Mercedes EQC. Now his charge rate is only 110. He gets to 50%. That starts dropping down at 70, 80%. He's going to be on a very low charge rate. We're actually going to do a road trip together fairly soon, so it's going to be interesting to compare the cars. Although he's got more efficiency, he may even have a few more range miles on the range. I think that on a road trip, this is hard to beat. This is a fantastic car. Just because you plug it in for 25 minutes, you're back on the road, you've got 80% of battery again, if not more. You know, I've done road trips down to France, 600 miles, 3 stops, under 90 minutes charging. You know, road tripping, this thing is brilliant. It's so easy. So, and that's all because of the charging speed and the charging curve. It's just that sustained high rate that does it. Now let me show you a tiny little detail. I've never known this on any other car, but the Audi engineers have come up with this one, and I think it's brilliant. Now, I'm a big guy, I keep mentioning how tall I am when it comes to legroom. I've also got massive feet. So sometimes I find on a car that when I lift my foot off the accelerator, just the welt on my boot or my shoe will catch under the brake pedal. It's only a trivial thing, but sometimes it will stop me getting to the brake pedal for an emergency stop. Just a teeny bit of a delay on it. I just find it an inconvenience, and it could have a bit of a safety impact. But look at what Audi have done. The Audi brake pedal has got a depth shield down this side. So when I lift my foot off the accelerator pedal, it can't catch under the brake. And I've never seen that on a car before, having a pedal designed like that, but it does make a difference, and I'm surprised. Yeah, if you've got normal sized feet, it won't matter. It's only because of my massive feet, but it's just a little engineering touch that I think is really good. I've mentioned it, efficiency or inefficiency, because this is the fat e-tron a couple of times. Just to put that into context, I can look on my phone app, I can look at my average mileage since I last reset the phone app. So over 20,000 miles, I have averaged 2.6 miles per kilowatt hour. It only cost me £6 to charge this thing up, and that's good for 180, 200, 220 miles, depending on what I charge it to. This is cheap to run, really cheap to run. So, you know, it's not too bad at all. And a lot of my mileage is on the motorway. And when you start looking at cars that are super efficient around town, you get them on the motorway, their efficiency drops right down. And it comes down to levels that aren't that far off this Audi. So, you know, don't worry too much about the inefficiency. It's on the right energy package like Octopus Intelligent that I've got, and a link for that in the description if you want to join up and get a £50 referral fee. It's a cheap to operate car. It's a very good choice. Do love the comfort and refinement. It's going to be hard to replace. I'm going to look at Kia EV9s, Hyundai Ioniq 7s if they come out in time. My lease company doesn't seem to have the Lotus available yet, so just made a short with my son Ben. He's popped that up online for me. Having a look at the outside of the Electra, fantastic looking thing. But I don't really know that I want a car that's 5.1 meters long. This thing's big enough at 4.9. It's a big old beast, and it's a bit of a pain to park. Really good parking cameras, really good parking sensors on it, but I don't know that I want to go larger. So let's wait and see what comes up next. But every time I look, I keep coming back to the Q8 e-tron. I might get another one, but I'll only get the 50, because the 50's got the same battery pack as this. It's got the same charging curve as this. It's got the same range as this, if not slightly more, because the rear motor is also slightly more efficient. You know, there's no point in me paying another £100 a month to get a 55. You know, I'd rather plug into public charger for 10 minutes, buy a coffee, and save the £100 a month. So, yeah, who knows what I'll do next, but it could be another Q8. So, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching this video all the way through to the end. Can I just ask, if you're signed in with your Google account to YouTube, just hit that subscribe button down there, and that will really help me out in maintaining the channel, as subscriber count seems to count for a lot more things now. So many thanks for that. Thanks for tuning in. Any questions, please ask away, and I will do my best to respond.